Welcome to the Winning Edge Investments Podcast. Winning Edge Investments provides industry-leading horse racing and sports betting tips, ratings and education, enabling you to invest intelligently and treat your betting like a business. Go to www.winningedgeinvestments.com to learn more about how you can start to supercharge your betting bank immediately. Treat your betting like a business and invest intelligently with Winning Edge Investments.
Today we're joined by Sam Lyons, the General Manager for Grand Syndicates. G'day Sam, how are you?
Hey, thanks Brad. Yeah, good here, mate. Start of the sales season, we're busy, but we're good.
That's the way. So the main reason I want to get you on the show is because Behemoth is running on Saturday in the Futurity Stakes. But firstly, tell us about your background and how you got into racing.
Look, it was a bit of a roundabout way. Dad was a greyhound trainer, so I had racing in the blood a little bit along those lines. Sort of turned 18, bought myself a share in a racehorse, as you tend to progress to that sort of a thing. From there, I spent a few years just owning horses and working in different industries, and then I managed to land a role with Sky Channel, and beyond that, worked there for sort of 12 months, and then from there, sort of had a chat to Peter, who owns Grand Syndicates, and we discussed starting it up, and it was about 8 years ago, so the rest is history.
So that's with Behemoth Racing, with Peter Morley. They sort of started out in the West, is that right?
Yeah, so look, Peter lives over there and he runs Behemoth Racing, which is basically, very, very Western Australian centric, but came up with the idea of Grand Syndicates to work in that more modestly priced sort of share price, something that not a lot of people were doing at the time, especially syndicators. And we decided to start that in the eastern states as a sort of a standalone separate entity, and look, it gained good traction. It was obviously something that people were screaming out for, and we had that fixed fee structure, and it really caught on quite quickly and put us to where we are now.
So you've got Behemoth and also It's Me, sort of the flag bearers for the Grand Syndicate stable at the moment. What are some other success stories of Grand along the way?
The first horse that we bought was a horse called Koodle, and we paid $16,000 for her. She won around $500,000, and sort of was our flagship horse for a long time. Beyond that, we also sort of soon after that, in the second or third year, we bought a horse called Man of His Word for $10,000 up in Queensland, and he was our first stakes winner. He won a Brisbane handicap, and he was stakes placed another 6 or 7 times, placed at Group 2 level. Took us to an all-star mile in the first year in that as well. He won about 600 and something thousand, and the same sort of time we had a horse like Taikiado racing around, who we paid $6,000 for. She won about 300 in a few Saturday races. I think she still got the Pakenham Metro Track record up there, over 1,000. So it's those 3 horses were sort of horses, or those 4 horses were horses that helped put us on the map early. And then now we've obviously got Behemoth, who's definitely the banner horse. It's Me, who's a star, I guess, and who knows just how good she might be, or if we'll ever see it. I guess 2 tendons, but and there's a few in the wings. Actually, 3 nice horses. I think Majestic Shot, the undefeated filly up in Queensland, we think's very smart, and a couple of unraced 3-year-olds now that go extremely good.
And you mentioned Grand was sort of started just to be an affordable option for racehorse owners. Is that the main challenge of being a syndicator? Is that the price point?
Look, there's a lot of challenges sort of getting people into the industry, but I think price point is something that we can sort of try and give people options from start to finish. Sort of different price points suit different people, but for us, we found that being that lower price point and fixed fees and an easy structure, so everyone knows exactly what they're paying, exactly what they're getting into, taking the guesswork out of it. I think that gives a real stepping stone for people who just want to dip their toe in the water for the first time, or even just maybe have a few without spending the earth and knowing exactly what you need to budget for each week. So I think it is important and it's sort of, to us, it's very important that part of our business, and we want to make sure we stay true to that as well. Some people say with the success, you should start spending more money and doing it differently, but that's not what's got us to where we are. So we want to keep that price point as an important part of the business.
Is it important to differentiate yourself from the dodgy operators out there as well?
Oh, look, I won't get too much into dodgy operators. I think there's probably more talk about dodgy operators in the industry than there probably actually is dodgy practices.
Yeah,
We all,
very many, but
yeah. I mean, look, we all talk about it, and we all know it does go on, but it gets a lot of airtime, and it does sort of tarnish the industry and tarnish some syndicators and that too, which is a little bit frustrating when you're working hard to try and really give people a product that is very trusting and very simple and easy, and you do have to deal with that. But you hold the line, you stick to what you do, you make sure you get up and go to bed, knowing that everything you do is the right way to be going about things, and you be proud of what you do. And I love Team Grand. I love what we do. I'm very proud of what we built, and I like that we've tried to make it as accessible and simple for especially just the everyday man. That's us and woman.
How many owners have you got?
Yeah, look, we're up towards 1,000, I would say at the moment. I actually don't have that number exactly in front of me, but but yeah, we're up around 1,000 owners and part owners on our under management, I guess, as we say. So around that mark, and it's a bit tricky because a lot of our shares are owned by smaller syndicates of groups of friends, which is fantastic, and that's what we really want to try and make sure people understand that you can do when you buy these horses, to bring your costs down, and you keep the enjoyment at the same level, and you spend a little bit less money and you share it around with your mates. So, but yeah, there's up around that 1,000 mark.
And you've been pretty active at the recent sales?
Yeah. We bought 5 horses from the Magic Millions, which is certainly the most that we bought to kick off the year. We looked like we were going to struggle to find anything in our bracket, and then the last day came along, and the averages fell right down, and we were really, really happy with the 5 that we walked away with, because they were all on our shortlist, 4 of them quite high on our shortlist, and we ended up with the top filly that we thought we'd found in that whole second sale. So we were really happy there, and went to Inglis, had a good hunt around there. We picked up 3 more from Inglis. One of them was sort of sold about 2.5 hours after we probably bought her, and the other couple will go on the market. And then we've got Melbourne next week, Adelaide, Tassie, Perth starts tomorrow or something, I think, as well. So we'll be active everywhere and trying to find those horses that fall through the gaps that we might be able to fit out into our bracket.
Is there any size you're looking to buy into particularly this year, or
any size? No. Look, I love aiming at those second season size just when they've tapered off a little bit because their 2-year-olds haven't exploded, because realistically timeframes haven't given them a chance for those 2-year-olds to explode. And it does tend to, the commercial side of things drops off them a little bit. So I do love targeting those second season size, but realistically for us, we buy on type. So type's just the number one thing for us. John Price, who does essentially 95% of our bloodstock now, he's down there, or him and I are normally down there a few days before. We have to look at every horse that goes through the sale because we need a clear picture on those horses. And then when they just in case they do drop into our price bracket, we need to know where we have them on our sort of ratings. So look, type comes first. It's a bit tricky to go on target size, but we've all got a few favourites, but it's not specifically about going to target size, no. Although we did sort of have a close look at your Mickey Isles and your Real Impacts, a couple of those Sons of Deep Impact who we were keen to have a look at.
Yep. And you picked up Behemoth for $5,000, is that right?
6,000. So yeah, it's a bit more expensive than 5, but no. Oh, geez, if we paid for him by the kilo, he's very, very cheap. It's just been sort of well spoken about it a bit. I guess they pinhooked him for 120,000 as a weanling, and we're obviously hoping to turn that into probably $250,000 or something similar, make a bit of money out of it. And during that weanling to yearling stage, he looked like he grew out of sight, and he was a bit of a big fat whale with a bit of a rough head on him, I guess. He wouldn't win any beauty contest, but look, there's a really nice frame underneath that John Price found, and we don't do X-rays. I think it tells you, put you off horses that you otherwise would really like, and from my experience, I haven't really seen a hell of a lot of issues come up in horses that would have been picked up in X-rays. So, time is a big thing. If you give most of your horses time early, which we do anyway, we don't punish any of them to try and get them up to early 2-year-old preps. You sort of skip over that stuff. So we don't do x-rays. It's, people have spoken about there was likely x-ray issues with him, and because he was a big horse, it put people off. Well, we were very easy on him and gave him the opportunity, and David Jolly has just done a wonderful job with the horse. So I guess that's why he fell through the gaps. People often ask, why was that horse so cheap, or why was this horse so cheap that you bought? I think you're probably asking the wrong person when you're asking me, because we liked him. So we buy him. We need to ask everyone else why they didn't buy him. So,
So how big is he? How many hands?
He's a shade over 17 hands, and I don't know how heavy he'd be right now, but he'd probably be around 610 kilos, I'd say, around that at the moment. He's probably trimming up a little bit. He was big when he won the Durbridge the other day. He had plenty around the middle like me about halfway through lockdown, but a bit more of an athlete he is, unfortunately. But look, he'd be 610 probably at the moment, and a bit just a shade over 17.
Yep. All right, so on Saturday he's off to Caulfield for the Futurity. He's 2 out of 3 at the track. Are you pretty keen on his chances on Saturday?
Oh, look, you've got to be pretty keen on his chances to a point. He's undefeated there in that class and at the trip, and Ollie on board, which was a good pickup considering we lost the regular rider in Craig. But it's also really hard to go into any race when you're racing against Arcadia Queen. Probably off a win like that, and even Ole Kirk off a solid first up run in Sydney. These are really high class horses. So probably what gives us a bit more confidence is the drawing too, with the speed drawn outside. That'll probably come across and hopefully give us a really good trail. The better horses, probably on Arcadia Queen, are probably drawn off the tracks. I think it maps really well for us. And look, I'm not going to go in there anything saying, he'll be extremely hard to beat, or he's, they can't beat him. But I think he deserves to be favourite. But certainly, Probable's first up run, if she was to bring that and then improve on it again, as you'd expect second arm, she'd take a power beating. And it just comes down to whether Arcadia Queen is ready to go, or whether this is sort of her first up run looking towards the All-Star Mile, which is probably more likely.
And they'll meet again in the All-Star Mile?
Yeah. So we're going to have to bump into it. This is a bit of a curtain raiser for that, and everyone will go around again in the All-Star Mile. But that's probably what leans towards Probably and ourselves as being the two to beat, which the market's found. It's not rocket science. They're both impressive first up and have got the fitness edge, I think.
Yep. Was Willow pretty disappointed he can't ride him on Sunday?
Oh, yes. Look, kudos to Willow. Jumped straight on the phone and got in touch with us and let us know. And but yeah, he rang a couple of times over the next couple of days just to apologise and probably make sure he was still on in the All-Star Mile.
That was the next question. Is he back on for the...
Yeah. It's especially because obviously Ollie's on Rushing Camelot, who's going to the All-Star Mile and is his favourite. So, and he's first up there. So it was good that, in a way, that Ollie had that ride too, because it takes that tough decision if he wins on Saturday out of our hands, and we just go back to Willow, and Willow knows the horse, and his record on the horse speaks for itself.
Yeah. So the voting closed, yesterday or the other day for the All-Star Mile. He was pretty close to Arcadia Queen for the top spot. Do you think he'll get the top spot, or?
Oh, look, I'm not sure at all. It's a tricky one. I mean, I think they were basically tied. There were a couple of votes in them going backwards and forwards for the last couple of days, so it was quite interesting. The big one will be who all the people who voted for Very Elegant voted for, because she was obviously taken out the day before it closed. There's 9,000 votes or something there that they can then re-vote. So I expect a lot of those votes will go towards those top two. Just the generally nature of the beast, maybe Probably as well. So yeah, look, I'm not sure. I'm just happy to be up there. If he finishes on top, that's fantastic. It's a great little feather in the cap, and good for the owners to think you might be part of the most popular horse in Australia. But we're in there. Unless something crazy happens, we're in there, and that's the main thing. But yeah, I'd love to finish on top. I've certainly not making any guesses that he should or would.
And you're also offering a share in the horse for the race as well? Yeah,
so if anyone has voted for him and hasn't entered that yet, the owners have put up a 2.5% share in him for the day. So full prize money, full ownership, experience, tickets, come and hang out with us and everyone else, the same as you would if you owned him as per normal. Anyone who basically voted for him, all they need to do is forward their confirmation email just to our email address, which is just win@grandsyndicates.com.au, and we'll draw a random one out after the Futurity, probably Monday. I think I said I was going to do it Sunday, then I realised I've got a wedding, so I won't be doing that. I'll probably push that back to Monday. So you got until Monday to get them in.
Extra day. I was going to say $60,000 payday if he wins.
Yeah, I actually haven't done the math yet. A couple other people have done it. I think it's
68,000, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Probably minus all the bits and pieces that go to the rest of them. Yeah, it's a solid 50 grand though or something. So, yeah, certainly worth sending an email through if you haven't. There's not actually that many entries as you can imagine. If it's for what you might get, and you're going to have a runner who's probably going to go around in the top few in the market.
Yeah, definitely worth it. Any concerns about the mile for that All-Star mile race?
No, none. We've always thought he's a mile and beyond. The only reason we haven't been to that distance so far is realistically his programming. He hasn't needed to. You know, we ran through those. We were on the way to a mile last time, sort of in the Toorak and even potentially Cantala. But after winning the Spring Stakes and then winning the two Group 1s at 1400, the Everest popped up, and we thought, well, two Group 1s already. This prep, he probably owes us nothing. Let's have a roll at the big race, and that didn't quite come off for a couple of reasons. But now we get him back, and we start to look towards getting him up to that trip. And there'll probably be a Cox Plate nom in there again this year. There was last year, and we're confident that he can get beyond the 16.
And he's won at the Valley before, but that was like a benchmark 70, I think it was. A big horse like him around the tight Valley circuit, any concern or?
Oh, not really. I think if you watched him in that first run, he was a big horse then, and he was far more green and nowhere near as professional as he was now, and he handled it well, and it was a long, sustained run. I think the camber at Moonee Valley actually can be quite a positive for some of these big horses. It just really suits them. But certainly we don't. There's no major concerns with that. And if you can draw a gate over a mile, you'd like to think he's going to be in the first 4, 5. So he's not going to have to do too much other than just get around on those first couple of lanes, I think.
Is that the best way to ride him, hold him up and keep him for one sprint?
No, not at all. We actually think going forward at some stage he's going to be the kind of horse who rolls to the front a little bit later in his career. He's just so tough. Yep. Early days, he probably got pigeonholed as a bit of a back marker because he was tardy out, and he used to wear a barrier blanket, and he was still learning basically. Now, look, he's quite sharp out the gates, as Willow showed in the Memsie when he sat just behind the speed, and even in the Rupert Clark, he was reasonable out the gates. He just managed to get shuffled back as they piled around, so he got further back than he needed to. But look, I think he's versatile, which is great to have for a horse like that. But yeah, we like to see him up on the speed a bit more, and certainly on Saturday we'll be trying to use the gate.
Any plans beyond the All-Star Mile, or is that
no? No, I think that's probably where we pull up this time in. Look, there's races up in Sydney, but I think that's the timing's not quite right. And I think the Springs, there's going to be good races in the spring for him. That All-Star Mile, how he handles the 1600, whilst we're very confident he will, we still need to see it. So if he can win well, or at least run a very strong, to not win well in the All-Star Mile. If he was to win, or if he was to run very well and be really strong late, that then probably could put a race like the Cox Plate back on the map again for him this time in and a little bit further. But if for some reason he wasn't to run it out as we thought he might, we just might change the way we look at races in the spring. There's going to be a stack of options for him.
Yep. And that first up win in Adelaide, that was what you were expecting?
No, we thought it was a very good chance of getting beat because he was fat, he was not fit. He was up against Camel Passer over 1100. We were very prepared that we thought we might be running second to Camel Passer that day, who's coming off 2 group wins up the straight over the sprint at Flemington, I think. So for him to have been able to do that whilst he was still very much unfit, very much short of a run, and he was in that race in place of a trial, whilst he was in at the weights very well, it was a bit of not so much a surprise, but it was great to see, and it gave us a stack of confidence, obviously, going forward that he was going to be tightened right up from that run.
So he's come on a fair bit since that run?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, his work since has been absolutely top class. Every gallop he's gone out there, he's been his best yet, and we're really excited. So we'll get him over here, and looking forward to it. Just need a little bit of luck from that gate to make sure he does step, and I think then it'll if he steps and gets that position, it'll take someone that have to beat him. I think.
Does he go back to Adelaide between runs, or?
Yeah. Which is another reason we probably didn't come to the Ore first up, though it was a little bit further, and we probably would have had to tighten the screws on him a bit more than we would have liked to. But between runs, David will just take him back. So David will bring him over, probably stop at Ballarat, send someone else in because Greater Melbourne's still a bubble for South Australia. David will wait for the horse in Ballarat and then take him home and come him back up and bring him back over. And he did that twice last time and won 2 Group 1. So doing it 2 times in a row, we're certainly happy to do that.
He must enjoy the beach at Goolwa there.
Yeah, he does. He just enjoys that quiet lifestyle, to be honest. He likes his own company. He's an interesting horse. He's sort of that quiet, non-hustle and bustle lifestyle down there that he's got is he's probably really suited. So whatever Dave's doing, he's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, definitely. You also mentioned the Everest from last prep. You had It's Me and the Kosciuszko on the same day. There must have been a huge thrill to have 2 runners in the 2 big Sydney races that day.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a bit of a pinch yourself sort of moment for people who don't spend a lot of money on horses. We had a big owners' day there on the day. I did 2 weeks of hotel quarantine in Sydney to get it. No fresh air, no open windows for 2 weeks. I don't recommend it, and I'm not sure I'd do it again if you asked me for the same day.
Sure,
even though. Oh, yeah, well, I don't know, those 2 weeks. So it makes my skin crawl thinking about doing it again. But yeah, it was amazing. Like, it was from my point of view, I only managed to have a drink or 2 on the day. It was pretty busy between horses and owners, but it's really exciting. And thankfully, we were able to win the Kosciuszko with It's Me, even though she hurt herself in that run. So yeah, massive day. Good to just be part of it. Those big races, I love them. That's why we enjoyed getting man of his word in that first All-Star Mile, and this was a target a long way out, just to be part of these sort of big races. Obviously, the big prize money's handy as well, but they're good concepts. They're good fun to be part of, and it's stuff you can remember for a while.
Were you surprised with It's Me, the way she won, especially given she was injured, but where she was in the run as well? Yeah,
look, they tried their hardest to beat her. That's sure. I guess the problem is when you've got a short price favourite like that, you sort of do have a bit of a target on your back. Look, we're stoked with her. I just don't know how good she is. Hopefully we find out when she comes back, but times sort of don't lie to those guys who are big on them. She's as good as she could have possibly been in the runs in the lead up and in that run, and to win like that, then find out afterwards that she's done that tendon, and you probably know when she's done it, which is when she was trying to get out of that hole and she went back in and wobbled and sort of half took a couple of missteps after hip and shouldering that horse. She's then still had to turn a foot to get over him. I think she's something real special.
How's she recuperating?
Yeah, great. She's big as a house too. She's a tank. She's got a neck on her like a stallion. She's a big, thick. She's just a huge unit now. She's actually just continues to grow and grow. So she's at Lee Everson's doing her second little stint of rehab there. She should have a few more weeks. Hopefully that'll then put her back in the paddock for a couple of weeks. And then when she comes back in post that, that'll be in work. A little bit of rehab early days, but that'll be the in work heading towards a jump out.
Any plans for her, or just happy to get her back?
Just happy to get her back, find the right black type races and try and get her some black type and see if she's good enough to progress to Group 1 level. You'd like to think that she's a very good chance of that, but there's plenty of water that goes under the bridge before we get to that spot.
And she's recovering pretty well from the injury,
Yep. So first tendon she did, which was why she never raced as a 3-year-old, was sort of a 9 out of 10. This second tendon was sort of given a 4 out of 10. So with that in mind, it was much better to start with. We got onto it a little bit earlier, and it's healed perfectly. There hasn't been a hiccup to this point. So we got another scan in a couple of weeks, and that'll give us a clear picture of sort of how we're starting to probably finalise it now.
Awesome. All right, Stan. Well, thanks heaps for joining us, mate, and good luck with Behemoth this Saturday and onto the All-Star Mile in a fortnight.
No worries, Brad. Thanks for having me, guys.
At Winning Edge Investments, our team of highly skilled expert analysts and full-time professional punters review the data, crunch the figures, assess the best betting opportunities, and deliver them to your phone via our app and your email inbox in real time so you profit. Go to www.winningedgeinvestments.com. Look at our membership options, make your choice, and enter the promo code PODCAST to receive a special 25% discount on your first membership just for listening. That's PODCAST in capital letters for a 25% ongoing discount on your first membership. Treat your betting like a business and invest intelligently with Winning Edge Investments.